Ben-Hur, 1959, is a legendary masterpiece that captivated audiences with its grandeur, unforgettable performances, and record-breaking success. While the film continues to inspire generations, many of the talented actors who brought this epic to life faced heartbreaking struggles beyond the screen. In this video, we take a closer look at the lives of the Ben-Hur cast, celebrating their iconic roles while also shedding light on the tragic stories that followed. From untimely deaths and personal hardships to quiet farewells, this tribute honors their memory and the enduring impact they left on cinema history. Charlton Heston, born on October 4, 1923, took on the iconic role of Judah Ben-Hur in the 1959 epic Ben-Hur at the age of 36. Judah, a Jewish prince betrayed by his childhood friend, seeks revenge, ultimately finding redemption in a journey filled with tragedy, sacrifice, and perseverance. Heston's career was defined by powerful roles that painted him as a symbol of heroic strength and moral integrity, most notably in films like The Ten Commandments and Planet of the Apes. Despite his success, he struggled with the pressures of fame and the emotional toll of an acting career that required him to constantly maintain a perfect public persona. His first marriage to Lydia Clark, a woman who stood by him through many of his life's trials, did not shield him from personal pain. They had 2 children, but even family life couldn't protect him from the unrelenting stress of living under the constant eye of the media. Heston's public stance on various social and political issues made him a polarizing figure, further alienating him from certain sections of society. His greatest personal tragedy came when he began to suffer from the early stages of Alzheimer's disease, a condition that slowly robbed him of his ability to remember and communicate. On April 5, 2008, Heston passed away at the age of 84 from complications related to pneumonia. Haya Harareet, born on September 20, 1931, played the role of Esther in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 28. Esther, a gentle, loyal, and supportive woman, was Judah's love interest, embodying the role of a steadfast partner in the turbulent world of Ben-Hur. Harareet's portrayal of Esther was poignant, full of grace and tenderness, making her a beloved character in the film. While her career did not reach the same monumental heights as her male co-stars, she was still known for her performances in The Angry Hills and The Day of the Triffids. However, Harareet's personal life was filled with struggles that mirrored the challenges of her career. Despite her success on screen, she faced an often lonely personal existence. Harareet had a number of romantic relationships, but her marriages were short-lived and fraught with difficulties. She was married twice, first to actor David Green, and later to film producer and director, but both unions ended in divorce. Harareet's inability to maintain lasting relationships left her with a deep sense of isolation, compounded by the challenges she faced as a woman in a competitive industry. In her later years, she also experienced the sadness of watching her acting career slowly fade, leaving her with little to hold onto professionally. On February 3, 2021, Harareet passed away at the age of 89 from natural causes. Jack Hawkins, born on September 14, 1910, brought the character of Quintus Arrius to life in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 49. Quintus, a Roman commander who takes Judah Ben-Hur under his wing and becomes his mentor, is a figure of strength and wisdom, his authoritative presence contrasting with his underlying compassion. Hawkins's portrayal of the character, which blended power with kindness, became one of the most memorable aspects of the film. However, Hawkins's career, marked by acclaimed roles in The Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia, was overshadowed by his personal and health struggles. Throughout much of his career, Hawkins fought an unseen battle with his health, and this struggle became more public when he was diagnosed with throat cancer in the early 1970s. The disease severely affected his ability to speak, and it would ultimately take his life. His personal life, though less publicized, was marred by deep tragedy as well. Hawkins's first marriage to actress Jessica Tandy ended in heartbreak as they struggled with his health issues, and though they remained friends, the toll it took on him personally was profound. In 1968, he married his second wife, Dorothy, but his health continued to deteriorate. Jack Hawkins passed away from throat cancer on July 18, 1973, at the age of 62. Stephen Boyd, born on July 4, 1931, portrayed Messala in Ben-Hur at the age of 28. Messala, once Judah Ben-Hur's closest friend, becomes his antagonist, turning from a noble Roman officer to a ruthless and vengeful enemy. Boyd's performance as Messala was filled with internal conflict, embodying a man torn between loyalty and ambition, a tragic hero in his own right. Boyd's career, though marked by his striking looks and undeniable talent, was plagued by personal turmoil and disappointment. He was often typecast in roles that required him to play the villain, despite his range as an actor. His personal life was no less complicated. Boyd's relationships were often troubled, with his marriage to actress Elizabeth Taylor being a particularly tumultuous chapter. The couple's passionate relationship, filled with public drama and private heartache, ended in divorce, leaving Boyd with a broken heart and a fractured reputation. As he struggled with the pressures of his career and personal life, Boyd faced the tragic loss of several close friends, further deepening his sense of loneliness. His most significant struggle, however, came in the form of a heart attack in 1977, which took his life at the age of 45, just as he was beginning to emerge from his personal and professional slump. Martha Scott, born on September 22, 1912, took on the role of Miriam, Judah's mother, in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 47. Miriam is a character full of grace, love, and unwavering resilience, embodying the strength of a mother who endures pain and loss without faltering. She is dignified in her suffering, offering both wisdom and solace to her son as he navigates his tumultuous journey. In real life, Scott's career was full of promise, yet her personal life was fraught with tragic struggles. Despite her success in film and theater, Scott experienced deep personal loss, including the heart-wrenching loss of her husband to suicide. Her marriage to writer and director Alexander MacLeod was marred by his severe depression, a condition that ultimately led to his tragic decision. Scott, although a public figure known for her elegance, was left to cope with the scars of his passing alone. Her ability to continue working and maintain a semblance of normalcy in her career came at a great personal cost. Her later years saw her coping with isolation and the quiet grief of an unfulfilled family life. Scott passed away on May 28, 2003, at the age of 90 due to natural causes, but her later years were tinged with a sense of loneliness and sorrow that her public persona never revealed. Hugh Griffith, born on May 30, 1912, played Sheikh Ilderim in Ben-Hur at the age of 47. Sheikh Ilderim, a wealthy Arab who aids Judah Ben-Hur in his quest for revenge, was a character full of eccentric charm, generosity, and cunning, a role that suited Griffith's larger-than-life persona. However, Griffith's career, though punctuated by notable roles in The Guns of Navarone and Tom Jones, was overshadowed by personal and physical struggles. Griffith's life was fraught with tragedy, beginning with his battle with alcoholism, which deeply affected both his career and personal relationships. He married several times, but each union ended in disappointment, with Griffith unable to maintain the stability needed for lasting happiness. His personal life, plagued by addiction and his own inner demons, left him isolated and often estranged from his family. His health issues compounded the pain, with heart problems becoming a central theme in his later years. Griffith's ultimate demise came on May 14, 1980, at the age of 67, when a heart attack claimed his life. His death was not just the end of a life, but a final tragic chapter in the story of an actor whose off-screen struggles were as epic as the roles he portrayed. His passing left a sense of sadness and loss, both for the man and for the character of Sheikh Ilderim. Finlay Currie, born on January 20, 1878, was 81 years old when he began his role as Balthasar, one of the three wise men, in Ben-Hur in 1959. His portrayal of Balthasar, the mystical and prophetic figure who brings his wisdom and gifts to the Christ child, was deeply resonant, and the role became one of his defining performances. Yet, beneath his professional achievements, Currie's personal life was marred by deep tragedy. His early years were marked by the death of a beloved sibling, which left a scar on his emotional well-being. Despite finding success in his career, Currie struggled to maintain stable relationships, and his marriage was far from harmonious. The breakdown of his marriage, combined with his feelings of loneliness, led him into a period of deep emotional distress. In his later years, Currie's health began to deteriorate, and he struggled with the physical decline of old age. Although he continued to work, his health and personal life were increasingly fraught with difficulty. Currie passed away on May 9, 1968, at the age of 90 from natural causes, his death marking the end of a life that had been shaped as much by personal sorrow as it had been by professional triumphs. Terence Longdon, born on May 29, 1922, portrayed Drusus in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 37. Drusus, the loyal and disciplined Roman officer, stood as a symbol of military virtue. Yet, Longdon's own life was far from the stoic character he portrayed. His first marriage, entered into in his youth, seemed perfect on the surface, but it quickly unraveled as Longdon struggled with infidelity and emotional neglect. His wife, a former actress, became increasingly distant and uninterested in their marriage, leading to a painful divorce after just a few years. His two children, a son and a daughter, were caught in the turmoil, and Longdon's relationship with them deteriorated over time. Though he married again in his later years, this second union was marked by mutual frustration and bitterness, leading to yet another failed marriage. Longdon's attempts to build a stable family life were thwarted by his inability to emotionally connect with those closest to him. The tragic irony of his life was that, while he portrayed a man of loyalty and honor on screen, he found no such peace or fulfillment in his own personal relationships. In his later years, Longdon, now estranged from his children, often reflected on his failed marriages and the emotional scars left by them. Terence Longdon passed away on April 23, 2011, at the age of 88. Frank Thring, born on May 11, 1926, was 33 years old when he began his portrayal of Pontius Pilate, the authoritative and conflicted Roman governor, in Ben-Hur in 1959. Thring's portrayal of Pilate, a man torn between duty and moral conflict, was a defining moment in his career. In real life, however, Thring's personal story was filled with conflict and sadness. Though he was married twice, his personal relationships were plagued by emotional volatility, and both marriages ended in bitter divorce. Thring's struggles with his sexuality and his public persona also left him feeling alienated, further contributing to his emotional distress. His career, despite its UPS, was overshadowed by personal demons that made him difficult to relate to those around him. The emotional toll of his failed relationships, combined with his battles with self-worth, created a life that was often filled with loneliness. As Thring entered his later years, he was diagnosed with cancer, which took a significant toll on his health. Thring passed away on December 29, 1994, at the age of 68, after a prolonged battle with the disease. His death was the culmination of years spent grappling with personal insecurities and emotional turmoil, overshadowing the achievements of his professional career. Sam Jaffe, born on March 10, 1891, was 68 when he took on the role of Simonides, the wise and loyal steward in Ben-Hur, in 1959. Simonides serves as a beacon of wisdom and loyalty throughout the story, guiding Judah through many trials with his sagacity and steadfast devotion. However, Jaffe's own life was far less serene. Despite his successful career in both theater and film, his personal life was shadowed by the deep sorrow of unfulfilled relationships. Jaffe was married twice, but both unions were marked by difficulty and emotional strain. His first marriage ended in divorce, and his second, though longer, was a source of profound distress, as he struggled to find the emotional connection he sought. In addition to his personal troubles, Jaffe faced the tragic loss of several close friends and family members, leading him to endure a sense of isolation in his later years. His health began to fail as he aged, and he was diagnosed with cancer, which ultimately claimed his life. Jaffe passed away on March 24, 1984, at the age of 93, and his death was a quiet end to a life that had been overshadowed by personal losses and emotional suffering, despite his professional accomplishments. Cathy O'Donnell, born on July 6, 1923, was 36 years old when she portrayed Tirzah, Judah's beloved sister, in Ben-Hur in 1959. Tirzah's character is a symbol of innocence and vulnerability, a young woman who, despite the cruel fate that befalls her and her family, retains an inner courage and resolve. O'Donnell, however, had her own share of battles. Though her career in film was promising, her personal life was deeply tragic. Married to actor and director William Tuttle, O'Donnell struggled to balance her professional commitments with the emotional toll of personal loss. Her marriage ended in emotional turmoil, and she faced profound loneliness after the separation. O'Donnell's health was also a constant source of concern, as she battled the ravages of cancer for many years. Her career, which had initially held great promise, began to decline as her illness took hold. O'Donnell's tragic fate was sealed when she passed away on April 11, 1970, at the age of 46, after suffering a cerebral hemorrhage caused by her long fight with cancer. Her death, though relatively young, was the painful culmination of a life marked by suffering both on screen and in her personal life. André Morell, born on August 20, 1909, was 50 years old when he joined the cast of Ben-Hur in 1959 to play Sextus, a Roman officer known for his loyalty and authority. However, the actor's personal life was far from the stoic strength of his character. Morell's first marriage, though long and seemingly stable, was fraught with emotional challenges. His wife, an actress, suffered from severe depression, and Morell, though deeply committed to his family, found himself struggling to balance his career with the needs of his wife and children. Despite his efforts, the marriage crumbled under the weight of his wife's mental health issues. After their divorce, Morell was left to care for their two children, a son and a daughter, but his own emotional exhaustion left him distant from them. His second marriage to a fellow actor was no less difficult, as both partners faced the stresses of a demanding career. By the time Morell's health began to deteriorate in his later years, the emotional scars from his previous relationships made it difficult for him to find peace. His children, still feeling the strain of their childhood, were not close to him, and he often expressed deep regret over the failed relationships in his life. André Morell passed away on November 28, 1978, at the age of 69. George Relph, born on January 27, 1888, brought the character of Tiberius Caesar to life in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 71. As the detached and powerful Roman emperor, Relph's portrayal exuded authority and coldness, yet the reality of his own life could not have been further from the imperial figure he embodied. Relph's first marriage was to a fellow actor, and it appeared to be a match made in heaven, but the pressures of their respective careers and the loneliness of public life drove a wedge between them. His wife's increasing alcoholism compounded their struggles, and their union eventually ended in a bitter divorce. The emotional toll of this separation left Relph deeply scarred, and he found it difficult to maintain any sort of lasting relationship afterward. His second marriage was to a woman much younger than him, but this union too was fraught with betrayal. He found solace in his work but was left emotionally exhausted by his personal life. As Relph aged, his health began to fail, and he became more reclusive, finding little comfort in his remaining family members. In his final years, he had little contact with his children, who resented him for his emotional neglect during their childhoods. George Relph passed away on April 24, 1960, at the age of 72, his death overshadowed by years of personal heartache and strained family relationships. Ady Berber, born on February 4, 1913, played the role of Malik, the loyal servant of Sheikh Ilderim, in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 46. His character, strong and resourceful, was a stark contrast to Berber's personal life, which was filled with tragedy. Berber's first marriage was to a woman he deeply loved, and together they had two children, a son and a daughter. However, Berber's career demands, coupled with his wife's growing mental health issues, placed an overwhelming strain on their relationship. His wife's depression worsened over the years, and she became increasingly withdrawn, unable to connect with her children or her husband. Berber, unable to provide the emotional support she needed, found himself increasingly isolated. Their marriage ended in a painful divorce, and Berber was left with the responsibility of raising his children alone. The bitterness of the separation led to a fractured relationship with his children, who were left emotionally scarred by the experience. Berber remarried later in life, hoping for a fresh start, but his second wife suffered from chronic illness, which strained their relationship as well. His health declined, and the emotional toll of his personal life began to wear on him. Berber passed away on January 3, 1966, at the age of 52 from cancer. Marina Berti, born on September 29, 1924, portrayed Flavia, the elegant and compassionate Roman noblewoman, in Ben-Hur in 1959 at the age of 35. Yet, Berti's personal life was far more tragic than the character she played. Her first marriage to an Italian aristocrat began with great hope, but the reality of living with a man who was emotionally distant and cold soon took its toll. Despite having 2 children, a son and a daughter, Berti's marriage disintegrated as her husband grew more controlling and detached. He was often absent, consumed by his own affairs, leaving her to raise the children alone. The emotional strain was immense, and Berti's attempts to salvage her marriage were unsuccessful. Her second marriage, entered into in an attempt to find solace, was equally disastrous. Her new husband was emotionally unavailable and struggled with addiction, which led to further heartbreak. Berti's personal struggles were compounded by the pressures of her career, and she found herself unable to escape the shadows of her troubled family life. As she aged, Berti became increasingly isolated, estranged from her children, who had their own issues stemming from their tumultuous childhood. Marina Berti passed away on October 29, 2002, at the age of 78, after a life filled with heartache and unhealed wounds from her broken marriages and fractured family life. Who is your favorite character in Ben-Hur? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.